I'm now very honored to introduce Mrs. Irina Chevtaeva. She is a freelance journalist working for Deutsche Welle, several news agencies in Germany, as well as the independent Novaya Gazeta in Russia. Over the past decade, she has extensively covered issues related to Russian politics and society. Her areas of interest in Russia include press freedom, as well as criminal prosecutions of journalists and media consumption. So please welcome Mrs. Irina Chevtaeva.
Oh, thank you very much. Hello. Thank you for inviting me to participate in the conference. Unfortunately, we cannot meet in person now, but I'm very glad that this event is taking place. I'd like to share my screen as well, as I prepared quite small presentation. Shortly, but you've introduced me already. My name is Irina. I'm a journalist. I've studied journalism in Moscow, Lomonosov State University. Worked several years in Russia as the correspondent, covering mainly social and political issues. What is actually important, and what I would like to say is, first, I moved to Germany almost 6 years ago to work as an editor for the Deutsche Welle's Russian service. So it's Russian service, and working for the Novaya Gazeta in Moscow. Deutsche Welle is in Bonn. And I'm writing for several news agencies as well. And I would like to emphasize first that as a freelance journalist, I'm a freelance journalist, and everything I will say is only my personal opinion, which is not related to my work in any of these media. And actually, I would like to make it personal. I'm 20 years old. I feel myself at home both in Russia and in Germany. I speak both languages. I write in both languages, and I work in both languages as a journalist. And I'm very interested to know more, for example, about gender equality, which is certainly a political issue, about building a career, about, for example, mental health from the perspective of an immigrant or expat from Russia in Germany. And what would I say? Is there actually any media or any resource for me in Russia? Actually, not that I know. And here is what I know about Russian-speaking people in Germany and the media for them. So as the topic was the role of the Russian media in Germany, the first thing is important to say is what is important to say is we actually do not know exactly how many Russian speakers live in Germany. It is approximately like 2, 3, or till 6 million people, and the figure 6 million includes also those who studied Russian as a foreign language back in the GDR. And the second thing I would like to emphasize as well is that there are only few studies about it. So this group includes, for example, later immigrants from the countries of the former USSR, residents of Russia and Ukraine who came as Jewish refugees. There are also young people who came to study or to work here. And I'm not engaged in the media research, but as a journalist living in Germany, I wrote articles about young people who came to work in IT sphere or startups in Berlin, about writers or poets who work in Russian and live in Germany, about older people who moved as seniors and live quietly and quite lonely just because they cannot learn German. And the main thing about it is that the Russian-speaking people in Germany are very different, and I would not say that there's one Russian-speaking community. What important about the media as well, there are at the same time several media in Russian language in Germany, which are actually designed specifically for people who live in Germany and speak Russian. several examples of them. For example, it's the weekly newspaper Russian Germany with its circulation 70,000. The Ost-West TV channel, it says that it has about 300,000 subscribers. And the public legal Radio Cosmo in Russia, it has about 10,000 people follow it on Facebook. What I would like to say with it is actually, according to all these figures, these media are of little interest to those several million people who, like to 6 million people who speak Russian and live in Germany. And actually there are, for me personally, two important things about it. And the first one, as Mikhail has mentioned, is already, but I'd like to talk about it a little bit more. According to those few and actually imperfect studies on the issues, most of the Russian-speaking people in Germany actually receive information from the media in German language. And that shows us, for example, the research of ARD ZDF back in 2011. They actually asked for, not 4, but 500 people from the former USSR countries who live in Germany about what media they read, watch, or listen to. And the result is this, that the majority of people consume media in German, followed by those who do it in both languages. And the smallest group was that those people who consume the media only in the Russian language. And this last group belongs rather the oldest generation. The similar study by the Nemtsov Foundation in 2016, they asked 600 migrants from the countries of the former USSR living in Germany, showed the same result. They consume media in German language. What is important for me as a journalist is that the media in Russian language in Germany mostly do not understand very well who they speak to, whom they count on, and what is interesting to specific and very different people. These media are designed for a homogeneous Russian-speaking community, which actually does not exist. And I would say that the media do not take in account the background, the interests, the age, gender, or the needs of specific people. And it is somehow the story about this vertical communication that we are saying now. We journalists and media managers will decide what you should be interested in according to our ideas, to our norms of the editorial offers, or to our views. And it turns out to be not so relevant nowadays. There are several conclusions that I personally can draw from it. And the first one is that in many ways, it is the same problem with the media, which exists in Russia, of course, as well. And those who simply moved it to Germany. The problem of stratification, isolation of journalists from how their readers, viewers, and listeners live and what they're actually interested in. And the second thing about it is that the Russian-speaking people in Germany actually would like to use their language, and they do have this identity as well, but no one speaks to them. Those people are actually not involved or included in the creation of the agenda, and the media, which are theoretically designed for them, like most of the media, not maybe all, but they do not even try to do this. And of course, as a reader, I would be happy to gain information from the media that would see me with my needs and interests and would interact with me on the basis of equality. And as a journalist, I want to do it and to see who I work for, what problems do actually those people have, and what information do they need. And personally, for me, it is a huge challenge, and I do not have any perfect solution of it. But well, thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer your questions and to discuss this issue with you as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. for your wonderful presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Irina Chevtaeva? Can I ask maybe what is the current topic you're working on?
Well, there are several topics. I'm the editor of Start Now, and I'm working on the investigation. It's one of the Russian topics, and it's about the military stuff. And I'm trying to make it both in Russian and in German as well.
Yes. Is there someone else who wants to ask a question?
Yeah, warte mal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mr. Dr. Wolfgang Restmann.
One question, Irina, about the audience in Germany. What do you think? How to say? What do you think that the people who listen to the Russian language media in Germany, where is they also listen to German medias, I think, and what do you think which is more important, and in which media is this audience believing more? For example, I know some friends of mine live in my neighborhood, coming in the third generation from the former Soviet Union, and they watch a lot of music TV from Russia mainly. Also via music, you have an influence, and it's not my impression that they are watching at news or reports and so on. Also, if there is an influence, it's only inverted commas a cultural influence. What do you think about that?
Well, thank you. It's an interesting question, and somehow it is the problem that there are only few researchers or few studies to this topic, but they actually show that more than a half of people who we consider to be Russian speakers consume German media and consume only German media. So it's like more than nearly 60% in the internet, and then nearly 60% TV as well. But of course, what is important for me that it is not that we're talking about very different people, and somehow the friends of mine who are living in Germany for several years, they, for example, they do consume Russian media, but Echo Moskvy or Dost or something independent, and they see that they see themselves there as well, and they're influenced by those media. And what they about the second part of the question, I would like to say that it's maybe the topic for the Mikhail as well, but the Russian media do have, or the Russian state media do have a huge entertainment part, and it's not only about politics that or political news or social news that people consume there or gain there. They are actually maybe using it just for entertainment, just as a I don't know, part of their identity. It is important for people who are speaking Russian to make jokes in Russian, to understand them. And these media are still, or I wouldn't say that these media are speaking with the audience in the equal way, but they actually they provide this information and they provide this content, and maybe because of it, it is also relevant for some groups of people.
Yes, thank you very much.
One last other question. When there was a big anti-corona demonstration in Berlin, I just zapped through internet channels and I saw RT Germany with the live broadcasting the whole demonstrations and showing for minutes or, in my feeling, for hours the mostly right-wing flags of the neo-fascist scene. And so what do you think, how are the influence or the relations between the right-wing political scene in Germany and the Russian media in Germany are?
Well, there are actually, it would be also only my personal opinion, but there were actually some articles from which we know that the Russian state is trying to support the far right-wing parties, or like only trying, and considering to the, for example, Russia Today, that is covering the events in a such way. It is, on the one hand, we all understand all these things about propaganda and the influence of it, and on the other hand, they do make it quite effectively. I mean, when we are talking about the RT, that they are focusing on some aspects, and it's not the journalistic work, but what I will say with it is that actually they are making it in a, when we're seeing how they work in the social media, for example, we see that it's quite effectively. They do all these short videos. They are working not only under RT brand, but as a Reply as well. And it's happening in Belarus now, for example. And the perspective that they show, I mean, we all understand and we all are pretty agree that it is propaganda, but they do it quite effectively, and they're just, I think, trying to continue this governmental rhetoric as well, and trying to continue the state direction. But what would be important to say as well, that there were in Germany during the elections lots of groups of the Russian-speaking community, or from people from from Russian-speaking people who were trying to say, but we are not the AfD voters, and we are trying not to be a part of it, and we are different. That's personally would be important for me as well.
Yes, Mr. Kalushki, you want to add something? Oh, you're still muted.
I'm not intending to hijack, but just to, I fully agree with all you said, but answering two last questions. First, about the entertainment musical channels. Well, the freedom of expression in Russia is seriously limited, and media is not the only sphere when these kind of actually various kind of censorships are applied. So mainstream Russian pop music, for one, still does reflect the mainstream of Russian narrative. For example, you cannot find an openly gay or lesbian performer on those musical channels, because it's now it's also act of censorship. It's prohibited, and also an act of self-censorship. So while listening to Russian pop music, of course, you are not becoming an object of direct Russian propaganda, but still you follow in this mainstream narrative. As for, I think it's a really important thing that Irina just said, that for many Russians in Germany, it was important to say, no, we are not AfD voters, I mean those who can vote. But it's a well-known fact that the state of Russian Federation used various channels, not just media, There are also embassies and consulates. There are also state-sponsored organizations like what they call International Union of Russian Compatriots, Всемирный союз русских соотечественников in Russian, which are also supported by Russian state funds, and this is other way to influence electoral behavior of Russians or Russian-speaking people in Germany. And as for extreme rights, well, there were reports, I cannot share the information right now, that Russia somehow supported not just AfD, but parties like Einheit, which is more to the right than even AfD. So it's also a huge issue, and I believe that the Russian state involvement in this process should not be underestimated.
Thank you very much.
May I add something about it as well? I mean, that's a very good point that Mikhail has made, just because the AfD was actually one of the first parties that used Russian language in social media. They spoke to all these people who see themselves or who do have this Russian identity, and the media that are making it in like this Russian-speaking media in Germany, for example, they were not so effectively. They, I mean, that was the first time that the party was actually, or one of the participants of this political scene tried to talk to people, and it's a big question what do they say and what they would like to do and so on. But as a matter of fact, it could be the media, it could be the independent or quality media, it could be we journalists who are talking to people, but actually this niche was there was lack of it, and the AfD did it perfectly effectively maybe as well.
Thank you very much. Very interesting comment.